Hi, everyone. I've got my friend now, Robert Helms, on here. It's his second appearance on our channel. Robert heads up The Real Estate Guys, a podcast that he's been doing since the late 90s, I believe. But Robert actually knows a lot about precious metals as well. So it isn't just real estate. So, anyway, Robert, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mike? Great to see you.
I'm great. Now, one of the things that people don't know about you is you are almost like a professional MC, going around to different events all over the place and hosting them because of your voice and because you think really quickly on your feet.
Well, thank you for that. I hope that's true today. And,
Mhm.
it's interesting because people have a thirst for knowledge, which is why I applaud all the work you have done over the years. When I met you, you had bright red hair and had this infectious attitude about the metals. And I remember we had a great discussion at the end of the day, having trade booths next to each other. And you said, guys, I love gold and silver, but my long term play is to be able to acquire it so I can buy real estate. And that started a really great set of thinking in my mind as well. And that turned me on to precious metals. And I think there's such a great part in your portfolio for the metals to play for a lot of reasons. And it's not that different from real estate in some ways because they're both hard, tangible assets, things you can touch, not things that are going to vapor away when some market maker decides to make a move. It's tangible. It's hard to
Right.
steal real estate, right? It's possible, but it's
Yeah.
hard, and it's really hard to have counterparty risk in gold. When I own this piece of gold here, it's got no counterparty risk. Now that doesn't mean it doesn't have risk. I could lose it somewhere in my studio, or someone could break in and steal it from me. But it doesn't have that counterparty risk, which we actually do have in real estate. So I think any investor today needs to have their mind around all of the various asset classes.
Yeah. So that place where we had booths next to each other, wasn't that during one of like the Los Angeles Real Estate the Learning Annex Real Estate Expo? So we are
Yes.
talking about 2006, I think.
Yep. Way back.
Maybe. Yeah, and you interviewed me shortly thereafter on your channel.
Yep.
So that was actually before my book came out. Before
That's right.
I already had GoldSilver.com, but it was just before things really took off. So
Yeah.
yeah, those uh, we are. You know, I just mentioned that before this started, that I paid for my membership for Collective Inner Circle, which is a mastermind group that I joined, that Robert is one of the founders of, with a tube of gold eagles. It was a couple of memberships for me and some associates, but I actually, there's some things that I've done in my life where I've paid in gold and it seems to bring luck. Anyway, so
Well,
tell us a
that's a
little.
really interesting angle, right? It's not just that gold is money, and in fact, it's arguably the only money, but the fact that you can preserve purchasing power, but when you use it, I don't travel most of the time with an ounce of gold, but I always have an ounce of silver in my pocket. Anytime you see me at a conference or convention, you can ask, "Hey, what are you carrying today?" And I always have a silver coin of some kind with me because it's tangible. I put my
Yeah.
hand in my pocket, I can feel it. And there is that energy. So it doesn't surprise me at all that investments you make with real money bring you luck.
In the last video I just did with Alan Hibbard, I mentioned that I used to carry an ounce of gold around with me in my pocket all the time. And then I think it was back in 2009, I was appearing with Robert Kiyosaki in Indonesia, and it rolled out of my pocket in a cab. But the
Oh,
cab driver actually brought it back to the hotel, and the concierge got it back to me. I was without it for an entire day. Other people
wow.
had it for an entire day, and it just amazed me the honesty and trying to get that back to me. That was awesome because the cab driver, I didn't know who the cab driver was. I never would have been able to track it down. It was yeah. So anyway, we're going on something called the Investor Summit Real Estate Cruise, and there's going to be three other gold guys: Peter Schiff and Dana Samuelson and Brian London, who produces the longest running gold conference, the New Orleans Investment Conference, and writes a gold newsletter. So 3 experts, but there's going to be some other people there. And people need to, Robert used to teach me that if you take the 4 people you hang around most, you're this guy right in the middle, you know?
Yep,
And
usually so.
for many years, actually, if you turn it this way, I was this guy up here. I was the one making the most successful, and so on. But you don't grow when you don't put yourself in with other people that push you a little bit more. People that might have some ideas, or set examples, or give you information that you just don't have yourself. So tell us about, you're actually the producer of the Investor Summit Real Estate Cruise, right?
Yeah, this will be our 23rd year, and it was a crazy idea, and it's a crazy amount of fun. We spend a couple of days in a hotel room and then jump on a beautiful luxury cruise ship for a week. And it's like summer camp for the affluent. It's the neatest thing. People come on, you go to summer camp, you don't really know anybody, you're not sure you want to go. And by the end of the week, you have all your new best friends. It's like that. And this year, we're so thrilled that you'll be joining us and that we'll have the best gold panel ever. We always, even though the real estate guys, right, we always have macroeconomics. George Gammon will be there. Peter Schiff will be there. We're going to have discussions on oil and gas. We're going to have discussions on cryptocurrency. We're going to talk about gold and silver. And the panel is outstanding. The best-selling author in the world on precious metals, that's you. Then Peter Schiff, who always has something to say about gold, right, repetitively. And then our friend Dana Samuelson, who's a physical metals dealer, also a macroeconomics thinker. Brian London, who you mentioned. But I'm also going to ask Brent Johnson to be on that panel because Brent knows a fair bit about the metals as well. And I think Robert Kiyosaki, not because he's an expert in gold, but because he'll be with us on the summit and he has a bunch of gold. So I think having the
Yeah.
perspective from folks that have been stacking it away for a lot of years will be awesome.
Yes. And then there's going to be some other people there that, Kenny McElroy and Jason Hartman are one of the things, my audience is very focused on precious metals and so on. But there's going to come a day where you're going to want to rotate out, you're protecting yourself and you're doing it at the right time where you're probably going to make huge gains against other asset classes. But to maintain the true wealth, you don't want, if gold does not become our global currency again, then it's going to peak and then go back down just like it did back in 1980. And so you want to rotate out of some of your gold, at least, into things like real estate and businesses and high dividend yield stocks.
Well, and there's a lot of
And
reasons for that, right? We all love gold. If you're a gold bug, I hear you. The thing is, gold doesn't provide any cash flow. Gold doesn't have any special tax incentives for the most part, unless you're in the mining business. And even then, right, there's a tough business to be in. And gold is a way to preserve your wealth and ensure. So I think everyone needs it in their portfolio. I am probably irresponsibly heavy into the metals, and I'm sure if you're watching Mike, you are too. I'm also irresponsibly heavy into real estate because real estate can provide cash flow, appreciation, tax benefits, and the fact that I can do something to the property to improve its value. No matter how much I do or say to this ounce of gold, unless I'm a craftsman and can make it into a beautiful piece of jewelry and get a premium, it's worth whatever spot is today in terms of that currency. But
yeah,
with real estate, I can do a ton of stuff with it. And it's the same thing with businesses. There's a great opportunity today to start and incubate businesses, to buy existing businesses, to take multiple businesses and merge. I was just on a show with a guy who is doing that very thing. He's owned a automotive repair business for 35 years. Today, they own a half dozen automotive repair businesses, and they have the synergy of using the systems and the techniques and even some of the equipment in a way that makes each of these, what were once independent businesses, flourish together. So it's exciting. Gold, as much as I love it, ain't too exciting. It's pretty, if you collect, unique gold, the whole numismatic thing, okay. But real estate, boy, there's just so many ways to make money. So our investor summit is really designed to look at all of it. From a portfolio side, there are going to be guys there that have stocks and bonds. Peter Schiff, obviously one of them. Brent is a money manager for uber wealthy guys, and he comes just because he loves hanging out with people that are interested, and it's going to be something. But of course, as the real estate guys, we've got Kenny McElroy there, probably one of the best real estate guys in the world. You mentioned Jason Hartman, awesome guy when it comes to single family and understanding the markets and even short-term rentals. And then my friend Keith Weinhold is coming all the way from Alaska. Keith hosts a great podcast and has been a real estate investor for many years. And the cool part isn't just that we have all these amazing speakers, right? People say all the time, well, I can watch Robert Kiyosaki's podcast. I can watch Mike Maloney's podcast. What you can't do is get in a conversation with both of them together around the bar. That's where the magic happens at our investor summit.
Yeah, at the investor summit, anybody that comes that mentions my name when they're signing up, they can have dinner with me. There will be how many nights?
Yeah, so we're there for 7 nights on the ship, and Mike has graciously said, hey, anyone that signs up and mentions my name, and there's a place where under the who referred you, you write Mike Maloney, we'll seat you at dinner with Mike one of the nights so you can pick his brain. Mike and I were talking about, well, maybe folks that come, from you, Mike, they ought to get 2 nights with you. And then Mike said, well, but they want to spend time with all these other great people too. So it's an extraordinary event. You can get the details at investorsummit@c.com. But the other thing about it is, a lot of conferences, I go to conferences, you go to conferences, you started a whole trade show. I mean, this business. What happens is you have to submit your talk and sometimes your slides weeks, even months in advance. But we don't do that on the summit. I just bring really smart people, and I know they're going to have something relevant to talk about. So I'm not asking for the title of your talk. I'm not asking for you to send me your slides early, like whatever is on your mind and in the ether, because let's face it, this world is changing like never before. The speed of change and the craziness, how do you figure it all out? For instance, if we said we're going to do a whole panel on how disruptive the tariffs are going to be, and that's obviously been true, by the time the summit is here June 20th, that might all be behind us. So we don't tell you in advance what we're going to talk about. We just let super smart people talk about stuff that matters.
Yeah, you said gold is sort of boring, and it is, but it's also easy. It is so easy to buy and to sell and to store. It's just one of the, it. If you've got a brokerage platform, you're always getting all these statements. You're getting basically financial junk mail.
Right.
You've got to keep some of it for tax purposes, but you get bogged down in all of this stuff. Real estate is wonderful, but it is not highly liquid.
Well, not only is it not liquid, it takes a lot of money. If I want to buy even a decent, little rental house, it's going to be $200,000. Well, that's a lot of currency. But I can get into gold for a fraction of that. And the way I think about gold is every ounce of gold I've ever bought, on the day I bought it, I preserved the purchasing value of my currency on that day. So I think the first ounce of gold, I didn't start early enough. My first ounce of gold, I probably paid around $800 for. But today, that ounce of gold is worth, pick a number, 3,000, 3,300, wherever we are. But those dollars, if I had kept those $800, they'd be worth a lot less today. But because I put them into gold, they have the same purchasing power pretty much as they did back then. So when I buy an ounce of gold, it's a gift I give to myself in the future. I don't like ever to have to sell my metals. But if I have to, there's nothing more liquid, right? I can walk into, there's a half a dozen places within 5 miles of my house where I could take an ounce of gold or a monster box of silver and have fiat currency within a few minutes. So I'd rather have the money, but if I needed the currency, I could get it.
Interesting that you've defined, you're using the terms money and currency, in my opinion, properly.
Well, I had to make sure before I got on with Mike Maloney, right? Because they're different things.
Now,
But
you're
we
also
need
going.
currency in our lives. There's no doubt we need currency in our lives. But every single day, every dollar that's in my wallet becomes less and less and less valuable. It can purchase less, right? And that's not true for the metals. It's hard to transact with the metals, although you've already given one example, and I have a few as well. We've had people pay for the Investor Summit with gold, silver, and cryptocurrency over the years. Now, most
Well,
people that say they take cryptocurrency, oh yeah, we take cryptocurrency, they don't really. They use BitPay or one of those applications to take it in and instantly convert it to fiat currency. We actually take it and hold it, right? Then not everybody thinks that way. But if you have to think about your investment philosophy, you want to get in touch with this stuff. What is the difference between currency and money? What is the difference between an appreciating asset and a depreciating liability? A lot of the things people invest in are going down in value and are becoming less beneficial, but they think they've invested. My brother-in-law said, yeah, I've been investing around the house lately. I've invested in a 60-inch TV. Like, I don't think that counts as an investment.
no, it doesn't. You're the MC for Rebel Capitalist as well, right?
Yeah,
And
so Rebel Capitalist is awesome. That's our friend George Gammon's annual event happening in Orlando, Florida. It's the 23rd to 25th of March, rebelcapitalistlive.com. And this will be my third year pulling off MC duties for George. George said, hey, after he came to our investor summit, he's like, would you ever consider like being the MC at my event? Because I have so much else on my mind. It's just, I can do it. But what George does is he knows all the speakers well. But I'm happy to take that off of his shoulders. And it also lets me be backstage with all the speakers, and love that. He brings a great group of folks to come share just some of the smartest people you'll meet. And it's all heady macroeconomic stuff. So be prepared to drink from a fire hose. But yeah, that's a super good event. I never miss Rebel Capitalist Live.
Anybody after they leave that event, though, has a much greater understanding of the economy. And, my audience, they are sort of hungry for this understanding of the economy. But you're not, if you attend this, you're going to get it from several different experts and angles. And so it's more than what I alone can give you. But, there's cocktail parties. There's times when you'll be able to come up and speak with me if you want. So consider Rebel Capitalist Live in Orlando, Florida. What were the dates again?
So it's May 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Friday night's the cocktail party. Be at that because all the speakers are there. And then all day Saturday, all day Sunday. We'll wrap up about 5:00 on Sunday. It's going to be a ton of fun, and your brain will hurt afterwards, but you'll also meet some really, really great people. I mean, think about the kind of folks that want to fly to Orlando and get in a hotel room for 3 days talking macroeconomics. Those are people you want to know.
Yep. I want to wrap this up, and I want to thank you so much for doing this. This is great, Robert. Thanks a lot.
Hey, thank you, Mike. Always good to see you, my friend.
What's your website? How do people get in touch with you?
You can hear our radio show at all your favorite podcast outlets. We're the Real Estate Guys. Go to realestateguysradio.com. If you click on the button that says Summit, that'll tell you about the Investors Summit, or just go to investorssummitatsea.com.
Thanks, Robert. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, man.